Hello and welcome. I'm Ian Cook. I'm with Visier, and at Visier, we make people count. We bring the meaning to the world of work. We ingest people data. We really help organizations and people understand how well they work and thrive together to help bring a human aspect to work and to help that human aspect build organizations that thrive. What I want to do in the next 45 minutes is walk you through how we bring those answers to our customers. What is unique about Visier? What's special about Visier? Why is it and how is it that we can help organizations to manage and understand and really make use of all of the different people data that lives in all of the different systems within their organization to thrive in this world? So thank you for giving us your time. I'm going to jump right in and explain where we're going. So you don't need us to tell you about change. Every presentation, I can almost guarantee every presentation at this conference has started with change, change, change. We're living it. We're feeling it. We're in the midst of it every day, whether it's our personal lives with our kids and our family and what's going on for them, whether it's our work lives with the changes to organizations, working from home, going back to the office, you name it, change has been around us. It is profound and constant. What that's meant though, and what is more crucial about that change is how we respond and react to it. How do we understand it? How do we monitor, read the patterns and the changes in our world so that we can effectively move forward? We've had the first wave of the crisis. We're in the second wave of the crisis. We're now living with and understanding the need to read the change, read the data, read what that means for us as a business, and then effectively respond so that our organizations continue to be successful, continue to be productive. We help employees working from home understand what it is that helps them to be productive. We also have a really crucial compelling imperative right now to focus on diversity and inclusion. Again, this wave of change has elevated a lot of those debates around what does it mean to be a diverse and inclusive organization. It's no longer good enough to measure. It's no longer good enough to have a simple dashboard. It really is about change. If we haven't got change, then we're really not helping our organization move forward. How does data not just tell you where you are, but actually help you to focus on the right areas, focus on the right programs, take the right actions, engage the right stakeholders, truly drive change? This has been through multiple diversity waves, and this time round it's different. This time round it's a CEO mandate. This time round it's a board level conversation. This time round it's about change, not just stats. And within all of that, this change, we're joking inside as an organization, and though it's a black comedy of how many of our plans that we put out for 2020 are we still following? How often have those plans changed? I talk to hundreds of people analytics leaders, on a monthly basis, and we've asked them about their future plans, and often we just get a kind of somewhat embarrassed laugh because so many of them, like so many of you, aren't having the 3, 5, 10-year plan. It's literally, what's the plan for this month? What's the plan for the next 3 months? How are we going to adapt and change that plan as we go forward? So slow cycles where steady access to the data and working it through as a project isn't the norm anymore. We're having to do that daily, weekly, fast cycles, multiple scenarios as we adjust to the new information coming at us, the new challenges that face us, all of the changes that are going on around us. So we know that change is profound. We know it impacts us. So what that has meant, people analytics has been a growing practice. We've been in the field for 10 years. In many ways, we've created the path. We've dealt with all the early innovation, all of the, how should it, how could it. What we know now is exactly how to consistently deliver people analytics at scale into a business. What we've proven along with our customers is the ability to do that faster and better. And that's what a lot of what I want to show you today. I want to explain how is it that you can follow the path that has been created by others in order to elevate and bring that critical element of people analytics into your practice. So let's start with the results. Again, always good to begin with the end in mind. And our results, we're not talking about Visier results. Our results are really the results for our customers. Again, we've said again and again, people analytics not about a chart. It's not about a dashboard. It is about the use of that data to drive something materially different for your business, to improve some business impact. Whether that's like Electronic Arts, which automated a bunch of data distribution, saving lots and lots of time and effort, redeploying that time and effort towards higher value, more complex questions. Or whether it's Merck, who used data, practices, programs to really create that inclusive and diverse culture, really build the amount of women in leadership, in fact, exceeding their targets, and using that combination of data, focus, program, and monitoring to really cycle up their own practices as it relates to women in leadership. Great results there. Or it could be like Celgene, who looked at the whole attraction, retention, and recruiting cycle. Not looking at it as like, how do I just make recruiting better, but actually, how do I make this whole talent strategy, thinking about the full life cycle of the employee better, so that they were able to reduce their recruiting budget by up to 20%. This is just a sample of the business impacts that People Insights can have. This is just a sample of the insights that Visier customers are achieving. And again, through this demonstration, we want to show you how is it that they get there? What is it they're doing? How does the technology support this? And one of the very first places to start is in this notion that we call speed to value. Fairly recently, for a large electronics manufacturer, we built 18 months worth of history for them. So a full view on all of their people, who joined, who left, over 18 months. And we did it in 2 weeks. Now, there's no way, and that's from contract signing, there's no way that a build it yourself or a contract with an SI to build something for you, there is just no way that that can happen in 2 weeks. And this is Visier's differentiation. Our data preparation tooling, the studio technology that we use to load, create, configure, and place an app. The data model that we have built that is proven, tested, in action on 10 million employees, in action with 5,000 different customers using it. The metric set that we've defined, again, best practice, in use, trusted, integrated into all of the different pieces. We're not going and saying, what metrics should we build for you? We're saying, here's our set. It works together. It's tested. We know how it works. We know it delivers the right insights. We can show you the results that are coming from those insights. All of this builds speed to value so that when you ship us your data, when you say, yes, I want to go, Visier is then able to build an instance and expand an application for your consumption in a time that others can't beat. Especially in a time that if you're waiting for an HCM deployment and then you're going to build the People Analytics piece, there is just no comparison to the value that comes from People Analytics first, and then having it in a platform where you can chop and change. Many of our customers started on PeopleSoft and moved to another technology. Their analytics is intact. Many of our customers have maintained the core technology, but they bought 2 or 3 different elements. Some of them focused on experience, some of them focused on time management. All of those different pieces of technology simply come into our platform so that they can answer the questions they need about People Analytics. So with that as a background, let's go and look at time to value. So what we're looking at here is Visier Studio. Visier Studio is the tool set that we use, our partners and our own customer success team, and increasingly our customers, to actually set up, configure, put changes into their live production instance of Visier People. Visier has a unique version management system. We don't run a dev and a test and a production. We run a single instance upon which different versions with different data and different descriptions of functionality can live. And we have a full lifecycle management system on top of that. So you can make a change, you can inspect the change, you can understand the effect of that change, you can share that with others so they can collaborate and work with you on a specific project, or you can submit for approval. So nothing goes to production without going through a formal test and acceptance cycle, but you don't have to move that change from one system to another system to another system. You're not lost in all of that overhead of having to pay for or manage multiple different instances of the application. You're doing it all based on projects on the same base version, which makes it very fast to change. Why is that important? Well, let me give you an example of why that's important. Here I'm looking at an executive dashboard, an example of the kind of data that our customers regularly consume from this information. And specifically, we're interested today in the progression of women through our funnel. So we have the ability to take the item by item, activity by activity stage data from an ATS, build that into a true funnel so that we're actually looking at everybody who was ever in the applied stage, and we're managing conversion ratios and progression through those stages based on the live data, based on our analytic model. This capability it is not native with any ATS system. You have to count and treat the information in a specific way in order to get this true conversion ratio. You may see the data arranged by stages, but that is not the same as actually getting this true conversion through the funnel. And it's crucial. Every organization is focused on ensuring there is no adverse impact in their hiring pipeline. These conversion stats are what prove that for you. They show whether or not women, on average, move through the stages at the same frequency as everybody else in the funnel. That single snapshot, that single piece of insight gives you very, very clean information to use in terms of, do we have challenges in different parts of our business? Overall, is our funnel good, but do we have areas for improvement? Super insightful. What you'll notice with this particular chart, and it's a common occurrence, ATS data is notoriously messy. Talent acquisition people are not so familiar with the analytics end of their work. They're very familiar with the kind of process end of their work. Therefore, there is change and often messy data. Again, we're very experienced at tidying that data and using it. And that's where our tooling comes in. I'm looking at interviews completed, but I noticed that I don't have an interview started stage anymore. I used to have that. Something must have changed in the data. That's important. I need to go and work out what that is. So I come back to my backend and I'm looking at my projects, and I can see the various different components of the application, the raw data that gets described into a process that then gets surfaced and shown. All of it's here for me to look at. So I'm going to go look at the applicant process. This is the model. This is the process model that we use to understand that raw data coming from the ATS to build the funnel and work through it. And I can see straight away that I am missing some configuration. I have a stage called interview started, but there's no member selected. There is nothing from the raw data and from the ATS. The data is in the application. The data is being loaded. It's living there and sitting there, but it has not been properly hooked up. Maybe the data's changed. Maybe something has happened in terms of the load coming over from the ATS where that data is altered. There is something in my data funnel that is not working as it should. So I need to go fix it. In terms of fixing it, I simply look for the active stages. I've got this information described here. So this is my interview started selection. I select that. That's my change made. I can go back over to my live application. And I refresh it. And when I'm refreshing it, I'm launching a new instance of Visier with that change. It's rebuilding the application. It's understanding the new configuration that's been given. It's reading that on top of all the data, and it's coming back and delivering me to letting me see what that change is. And it's actually taking me right back to the part of the application I was working on. You'll notice I didn't have to navigate back anywhere. I didn't have to do anything. It took me straight to the chart that I was using because it knows that I need to understand how this has changed. When I open up this chart, so I go in to interrogate that information, see the information, here's my interview started. So in this very short space of time, in a very short cycle, we've been able to find a change in the data, find something that's got a different meaning or a configuration that is not providing me the insight. I don't have to go to a third party and ask them to fix it. I don't have to go back to some ATS and work out what's wrong. I can come into the tool set that is Studio within Visier, make a selection, publish that, test it. And now that I like what I'm seeing, I can go back to my specific project. And if I'm feeling comfortable, I can release it to production. More likely, I'm going to submit that for approval. So I'm going to send that through a specific testing process so that it goes out properly with all the relevant checks and balances. That's what we mean by speed to value. The ability to not just load the data, but configure it, shape it, add meaning to it, align it to the business questions that you have, and then surface that in a way where you can quickly check, quickly validate, and you're not having to architect some massive lift and shift in order to then get that into production. It's a simple publish and release. Everybody who's consuming that information has latest best. It's incredibly powerful in terms of the speed to insight. It's what you need when you're running as fast as we all are. It's what you need when you have the range and flexibility and change in the data that's coming at us all. Now that you've seen how Visier helps our customers get speed to value, the capability that allows you to stand up an application fast, constantly build and rebuild the hierarchies, the configuration, the conceptual layer that brings insight to whatever messy data might be sent to us. You can see how it is that we can quickly move organizations towards value. The next area we want to cover is how do we actually elicit that value from the data? What are the tooling, the capabilities? How do we bring all of that nicely prepared information into answers, messages, visualizations, information that shows an organization how its people connect up to the business? Lots of people think that people analytics is something else we do. We do HR and then we do people analytics. And we fundamentally disagree with that. We have a very different perspective, and it's proven out through the results with our customers. People analytics is how you do HR. It's the insight that you need to create the strategy. It's the connection between what are people doing and how is our business being successful. It's measures like employee experience that link up to customer experience that link to revenue capture. Or it's measures like time spent, etc., that lead to costs, which lead to cost saved and in productivity improvements. People analytics is not something else we do. It's fundamentally how a great HR strategy is created, how it's aligned to the business strategy, and how that impact flows through to deliver results to the business. And then this next phase, I want to show you some of the tooling that we've recently added to really lift the complexity of the answers that are available to deliver results to the business. Here we are back in my instance of the Visier People solution. This is a demo instance. It works exactly the same, runs on the same hardware, has all the same configuration as something that a customer would use. So all the functionality you're seeing is exactly the same as is purchased by our customers. The only thing that's different is the data. In this instance, I have dummy data, fake data, so we're not giving away anybody's private data, but everything else that you see and understand is exactly the same as purchased out of the box. No special tricks, no special configuration to make this work. What I'm looking at is a chart. It's a trend breakdown, so I'm looking at things over time. I'm counting headcount, all the employee IDs who are currently active, and I've got this organized by the location hierarchy, so I can understand the growth in different parts of my geographies, the different areas and where my people are. In this instance, I'm showing the metric labels of percentages. If I wanted to, I can quickly pivot this chart to look at a stacked, so again, I get a different perspective on how growth is growing here. What's interesting about this, especially as my headcount is growing, is that I'm really only seeing half the picture. Headcount growth shows you the amount of people who are added. It gives you the slope of increase in the population. But what it doesn't show you is like, well, how many people have we had to add to cover for those who have moved? How many people have we had to add because of turnover or exits or all those various other things? And that's an important piece because sometimes you may have just grown by 10 people, but if you had to add 100 people in order to grow by 10 people, that's an orders of magnitude bigger problem than simply hiring 10 new people. And that's what this chart doesn't show you. That's what this insight it doesn't have. And it's also what cohorts based on time starts to provide. It's very common for these to be done manually. People use this insight a lot because it's a powerful insight. But what they haven't had up until now, and which has recently been added to Visier, is this capability to define it on the fly. And that's what we've added. So in looking at this chart, I'm going through a process to define a cohort. The first thing I want to do is set time. I could choose a very fixed point in time. I could say, I want to know the people who joined in Q2 of 2018 or whatever. I can choose a fixed time. In this instance, what I actually want to do is make it dynamic. So I'm going to go on a quarterly basis because that's the shape of my chart. I can choose different time granularities if I want to. I'm going to go back 2 years. Understanding how many people have we retained over 2 years. So I'm going to start by applying that. And that's telling me I'm going to go back 2 years. I'm going to find everybody at that point 2 years ago for which these things were true. And what needs to be true is that the employee was something. And that something can be a property. It can be some attribute, something about the employee that we know. For example, I might want to understand what happened to all the high performers or all the people who were high performers 2 years ago. So I can choose performance group. I can select high performer. This selection process, this building of a population is going to go back in 2 years. It's going to find everybody in my record set that was a high performer. It's going to lock to that population. It's going to show me what happened. Alternatively, I can filter using changes. So what I want to understand is how many employees who started, so had a brand new record. Again, I'm going back for 8 quarters in my record set. I'm finding the records that were brand new. Their first instance of being a record was on this time window. I'm going to say was created 8 quarters ago. So let's now apply that. And what you'll see is the retention view. This is showing me how many of my starting population of 216 are now with me 2 years later. I've gone from 216 down to 100. And I've done it dynamically. I haven't had to go into an ATS and lock a certain population, put that in a spreadsheet, and then calculate period after period and work out who's where. In this instance, I can actually go into the view details, pull out the full record set for the 100 people I've got. Similarly, I can go into the view details at my start point, pull out the full record set for what I've got. That's a time-based cohort. It shows me who's stayed with the organization. It's extremely powerful. And it's extremely powerful for a variety of reasons. I started life in learning and have followed the ROI on learning for years and years and years. What Cohorts allows us to do is this kind of comparison. What I'm looking at here is the calls resolved per employee. So I'm taking call center data. I'm looking at a very common measure, which is how many calls were closed out, resolved, completed on a per employee basis. So I'm taking total number of calls, I'm dividing it by employee. But what I can also do is then, using the cohort capability, define a cohort that said individuals took learning or individuals did not take learning. The classic A/B comparison that is part of that learning question, the classic comparison that shows if they took learning 12 months ago, what happened to their performance after that fact. And so this chart is showing me, and it's indicated over on the right hand side here. I can also get to the detail by dropping this down. I'm looking at the calls resolved for employee, but in one instance, I'm looking at it for employees who took learning. That's my blue line. In the other instance, I'm looking at employees who didn't take learning. That's my red line. And in every single period since then, I can show as a percentage how many more calls were resolved by those who were educated and trained and who engaged in learning how to do it compared to those who didn't. I can prove if I'm the head of learning or if I'm somebody who's been advocating for the need to help employees understand this, I can prove not at a point in time, but over time that learning has really had this significant change on my business results. So that's one particular example. Another example would be deals closed. Again, does sales training actually turn into sales revenue? That is something that can be done with cohorts because we lock to the population who took it 12 months ago. We track their results of the next 12 months. And this is what we mean about people analytics. It really has to impact the business. It has to be tied to what things did people experience, participate in, opt into, volunteer for, engage with. What was the result of that? Did it improve an outcome? Did it help us save cost? Did it help us reduce risk? Did it improve results for the business? Sometimes these will be business results. Other times they may be customer success results. There's a really wide range of those things, all of which are important and all of which help us really to hone in on helping organizations and helping employees specifically understand how to navigate work, be their best. And one last use case, again, just to highlight the breadth of how this capability is super powerful, especially in this world where we're looking at experience and trying to understand experience. Recently on a Gartner presentation where they called out a gap, and this gap was, the nexus of analytics was how it was called out. And what that meant was we've got information capturing the voice of employee. We've got information capturing engagement scores. We've got information capturing the workplace activity, the amount of time we're spending in meetings, etc. We've got information captured about the employee and who they work for and how long they've worked there and what they're paid. All of that has to come together into a nexus of analytics. And that is Visier. That is essentially Visier's role. And it gives some really, really powerful insights that are absolutely crucial for the moment. What I'm showing you here is a comparison, again, based on a cohort of sentiment of employees and those employees who have a minority manager. Effectively, to turn this into simple language, if I'm a Hispanic employee, I have a manager who is Caucasian or white. And I'm showing you the difference. So the blue chart is the overall score. This is the average survey response for employees. The red score is those Hispanic employees whose manager is Caucasian. This is the Pacific Islander employees whose manager is Caucasian. Again, this is fake data, so don't take this too clearly. But what I'm highlighting here is that actually white employees who have a white manager actually have a higher sentiment than their peers. That's the kind of insight by being able to lock into a specific population. And I'm not looking at an attribute of the employee, I'm actually looking at an attribute of the employee's manager, using that combined with experience data, the sort of thing that Medallia generates, where we lay that into the Visier application. We use those two things together to produce this super valuable insight. Again, I know many of you out there are trying to drive programs, increase investment, and really solve for this DEI challenge that we all face and all need to contribute to. Imagine having this kind of insight where you can highlight what it is about the organizational dynamics that's driving that change. That's what Cohorts does to all these kind of powerful business questions. That's what Cohorts does to really connect up what we know about people to business impact, differentiating the stories you can tell, doing it quickly, doing it cleanly, sharing it securely, really elevating the impact that the organization receives from its engagement with HR. In our final segment in this demo, it's really important that we cover the future direction and the changing nature of HR technology. Those of you that follow me on LinkedIn will know I'm recently advocating for a change in name. And we've thought about it as HR technology which helps HR be more efficient, that moves the manual processes that used to happen on paper and carbon paper into digital processes that happen online and are now done by managers. But really, we're through that wave. That wave is past, is gone. The efficiency being gained. The people technology that's coming forward, the new things we're seeing from a range of our partners, really differentiating in terms of skill, in terms of gig, in terms of workplace practices. There's a really fascinating and enlivening future, which is very, very different to the single transactional system of the past. And it's important that people are ready for that. That future has come faster. Often you hear, again, Jason Averbrooks saying the future is now. I tend to agree with him. The acceleration in that digital change is unprecedented. I've never seen it happen so fast in my lifetime. And what does that mean? The main drivers, again, you'll have heard about these through this entire conference, but we're moving away from this single system. There is no single system. Everybody's going to be running 4 or 5 different kinds of pieces of technology. Some will be the kind of foundational transactional system around what employee do I have. But a lot more of them will be about trying to track how do people feel. Others will be tracking which gigs are people ready for, which gigs do people want to do next. Others will be tracking who spoke to who last and was it a successful conversation. That's a really rich and valuable set of data. It's driven at personalized. It's driven at helping employees experience work their way. Greater flexibility, greater opportunity to access the opportunities you want, not being trapped in a rigid career ladder that is driven simply by the last job title that you held. But it's also fueled by this need for insight on demand. If I'm a manager and I've got a gig set up and I want to understand how to assemble the best team to do that, I don't want to wait a month. I don't want somebody to go and pull me a report. I don't want to guess. I want that intelligence in my fingertips. Who's ready? Who's got the skills? Whose skills are complementary? How do I use that intelligence to build the team that's going to be successful? Because we've known, again, one thing that's absolutely proven out in the 21st century, there are 2 really crucial elements in a business. One is money. We've studied that. We know it. We really understand it. The other is people. And that's less well charted. It's understood by some, but it's not understood by others. And there's a huge amount of opportunity to bring that insight not to a select group who are the specialists, but actually to every people manager who has that challenge of deciding who gets the promotion, who gets the change in pay, who gets the opportunity to work on the special product. All of these elements, that skills and whose skills go together well, whose skills do we need to evolve, all of that goes into a management system, an operating system, a way of running the business that is super focused on people, has the same importance and focus on helping people thrive within the organization so the organization itself can thrive. That's what we want to cover next. That's what we want to understand, bringing all of that insight together, making it simple so that it's not just available, but it's actually driving decisions. One of the things that differentiates Visier is our focus on the distribution of information. Our heritage is deeply in the world of BI. The team behind us have built analytic products their entire careers, which span many years. And so we focus on the decisions. Our design philosophy is different. We don't focus on the technology, we focus on the business question. We focus on the end user. Who is the person making that decision? What do they need? Where do they need it? How does that show up for them quickly and simply so that we can actually affect the decision? I'm going to show you now some of the tooling that we have to make that fast, easy, repeatable, how we can reduce the overhead to trying to maintain 25, 35, 55 different versions of the same dashboard, because you're navigating between different user preferences. You're navigating aggregate security versus detailed security. All of these complexities that mean building out using some standard visualization tool, building a data lake, managing that all yourself, whatever that technology might be. Why that is really slow, it's cumbersome, it's hard to change. Why invariably it collapses under its own weight. Again, we meet a lot of customers at the point where they've built 5 dashboards using some visualization technology. They've now got a request for another 20 and they have no idea how to square that circle. They can't add the resources they need to get that kind of expansion. That leads them to Visier. Visier removes all of that through our capability. I'm in an area that we call an analysis. It's effectively a canvas for writing whatever kind of insights you want. In this instance, I built a gender diversity dashboard. What I want to quickly show you is how easy it is for me to edit this. As an author, I come in, I select the edit button. That makes everything in this canvas editable. I'd have the option here just to simply to add an extra chart. A click of a button, I want to add a chart. That takes me to a chart designer. I can either add something that I previously captured, some chart that I was navigating, browsing to that I wanted to add, my projected headcount, for example, or I can go in and I can use our tooling to create a specific new chart. I like what I have right now, so I'm going to cancel out of here. In addition, I can add sections onto the bottom. In addition, if I wanted to, I could extend this. I can simply put in a break and put in a title. So I can put in a title. I can add some text to describe why I'm adding this. And then exactly as you saw, I can add in a bunch of charts from things I've already captured. And in adding those charts, I'm going to just simply drop in my projected headcount as an example here. And adding those charts, I have options. I can put text beside it. I can actually simplify down to showing a number and have time, or I can expand out to show the trend. I can resize the chart. This basically gives me a canvas for writing a nice dense dashboard or a long descriptive piece of content that explains how to use the metric. It's very, very flexible. And when I'm done editing, I simply close that. Anybody who's had this information shared with them will get a version of this. It will be updated with the latest information. Security is the differentiator. In this instance, security runs on the data model. It can be aggregate, so I only see things that are summarized, or it can be detail. I can see the record set for a specific employee. And we can have a blend of both of those gathered together across the same chart. It also sits on top of a single data model. So I want to blend talent acquisition data with engagement data, with experience data, with compensation data. It doesn't matter. It can all go onto this singular canvas. That's really, really valuable and important for getting the data people need to make a decision into their hands. Because we know we live it daily with our 5,000 customers. The decisions that people need to make, be it an HR leader, a CEO, or a people manager, they don't live in a single transactional system. We know the challenges that come from having a manager to go A for this, B for that, and C for that. They very quickly give up, go back to their instincts and make the best decision they can because it's too hard to find, consume, and use the data they want. When that's easy, in a single place, accessible, it completely changes that dynamic. That brings opportunity to change the way decisions are made. And we see it in our customers, how quickly things improve and how much better decisions get when that data is put in front of them. So I'm going to finish up editing. I'm going to show you an additional piece of how we're really helping you connect with the people managers who drive the decisions which drive success. So it's one thing to have this capability here. And as we've indicated, I can share this information with any user in the platform. I can add it into their space. I can update it. I can get it within the Visier sphere to as many user populations or specific users as I need. But people don't live in an application. They want it in their inbox. They live where they work. Inbox is where we all still work. We work on DM as well, but we all, many managers, if you ask any of our managers, where should I send tasks? Email is our task list. It's our record list. So what we recently added is the ability to schedule and push this to email. So this is the gender diversity entity I was working on. It had the charting, it had the information. I'm going to send it to a colleague of mine. I'm going to create a scheduled message that says, this is the gender diversity dashboard. I want it to deliver now, and I can add in some details. So this is my dashboard for review. And I can put in a personal message. Our monthly meeting. So fully email as you'd expect to describe it out. I've got recipients here. Gonna just send it to my colleague Jane here. I can schedule that. That is going to run the email, distribute it out, apply the security, and send it to Jane's inbox. And once it's run, here's what it's looked like. So I ran one earlier. This is it arrived in my inbox. Here is the gender diversity results. And you see how Visier takes care of the user experience. We don't just take the picture that we had on the larger canvas. We shrink it down, we focus it so that it can render in an email client on a screen like this, or it can render on a phone. So we've reorganized the charts. We've made it linear, we made it scrollable. Somebody can flick through whatever catches their eye, whether they're on the phone or not. They can get this information, they can have a quick check, they can understand what's going to be asked of them. And crucially, and what often happens and what we know is true when people see data, they want data, they can actually be brought back into Visier through SSO, no barriers, no blockages. They're in the application, they're looking, exploring this information, getting it richer, deeper. These can be scheduled. You can make one, you can send it to hundreds of managers. Security looks after all of that. One instance, everybody sees what they need to see. You can update on a schedule. You can push at the times when it's inconvenient. Think about how broadly and deeply you can distribute information, how that range of combinations of information start to bring insights, how that insight drives decisions. Again, we have a competition called 1,000 Better Decisions. We know from our own value work that when we get information into the hands of the people manager, that's when you truly see the return for people analytics practice. That's why we added this functionality. We really understand the power in combining data with the right security, then liberating that data out to everybody who touches people so that the best decision can be made. Once that's done en masse, that really elevates the results you get from the business. So super exciting feature, super powerful. We've had awesome feedback from our customers on how this really helps them elevate their game. We wanted to share it with you so you understand just how rich it is to be able not just have the data, but actually then get it to the users who need it, who can make those better decisions. So there you have it. Some of the differentiating features that are part of Visier People, some of the reasons why we're having such a positive impact with our customers on moving their organizations forward, moving their people analytics practice forward. I want to take a few minutes to kind of summarize, so what is this Visier People thing? And it's highlighted by this chart. We aren't just one piece of the answer. We're all of it integrated. We are data preparation, we're machine learning. We have a secure front end which allows you to distribute information powerfully. We're in the cloud, so you don't have to stand up any of your own infrastructure. And we're built for business users by business users. The engagement we have with our customers is twofold. We support them and provide the services to them, but we also listen to them and build the product with them. Again, we're the only application with native benchmarking where we have a single data model, so everybody's data is structured the same way so that we can publish and allow all of our customers to benefit from up-to-date benchmarks on things like promotion, retention, diversity measures, etc. We haven't yet met the system we couldn't integrate with. Great example is one of our customers has 64 different source systems for their headcount number. Visier was the first place that they were ever able to see it and distribute it accurately in one place. It just gives you a sense of the full scope of what Visier People is and an understanding of how engaging with us as an organization, learning about our technology, learning about our differentiation, learning about how it's actually delivering results and shaping the outcomes for lots and lots of organizations is going to help you progress in your analytics journey. And all of that, we think, kind of contributes to the standing we've had in the market. I mean, when we started 10 years ago, people analytics was an idea, it was a theory, it was things people were chasing. Now it is the de facto, it's the thing to do. It's an absolute imperative in our current climate to have people analytics as a practice inside your business. And we've found the path, built the path, and turned it into a highly repeatable, very predictable, really rapid and quick, accelerated way to deliver this kind of insight to your organization. We're doing it at scale, 10 million employee records, 5,000 plus customers, and we're starting to get the recognition for not just the fact that our stuff works, but actually how that stuff is then impacting the labor market overall. Released some recent reports, and you've hopefully seen some of the recent stuff, how Visier customers have been beating the market in terms of retaining employees, doing better than their peers. Similarly, Visier customers have increased the representation of women in leadership, again, doing better than their peers. That's really how we see the results of our work, is in these kinds of benefits and payback to business. So thank you for listening. Thank you for attending. Super excited by the opportunity to talk to you. If you would like to engage further with Visier, which we hope you do, there's a bunch of different ways. One is a simple strategy assessment. Go online, follow this link. It will give you a sense of where you are in terms of your own practice. If you'd like to see more, if you've got particular use cases, particular areas you want to go deeper on, understand how would I benefit from X, Y, Z aspect of the Visier technology, sign up for a demo. And then we're always looking for great stories. We want to understand the better decisions. We don't really care how they're made, but we really want to elevate the practice of people analytics. So we're always looking to gather better decisions, feature those as a competition so that we can continue to educate and build the market and move forward this wonderful thing that we call people analytics. So thank you again for your time. Have a great day.